There is a massive invasion force just over the horizon in North America, and nobody is seeing it. When they finally show up, there's not going to be any breaking news alerts. There are going to be no Twitter notifications. They're just going to show up, and they are going to change the face of America permanently. People will write about it for hundreds of years, wondering how nobody saw it coming. Earlier today, we began revealing this over the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. Over the past month or two, we were doing videos talking about specific threats that would face women during a grid down, shit it's the fan situation. Earlier today, we began a new series talking about specific threats that men are going to face. It's something they are never going to see coming, because civilized society has masked so much of the reality of what's going on. We started talking about this back in 2018, how when things get bad and things collapse, one of the first things that's going to happen is there's going to be a mass release of criminals. Not 1,000, not 5,000, hundreds of thousands, over 1 million. Actually, it'll act like an army sweeping across this nation, changing everything. And of course, with the grid being down, communications being sporadic, and supplies being short, it's not going to be something that gets reported in the mainstream news. In fact, they're going to try to spin it. And this is what we talk about over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. How they're going to do it and what the results are going to be should terrify most men. If you're not prepared for it, you'll become a victim of it. And there won't be any amount of ballistic training whatsoever that will protect you. I have a question for the men in my audience here, though. Do you live in a castle? Or do you live in a village? Are you sure? If you'd like to find out, join us over the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It's $1 per month. Fully refundable within the first 90 days. That means all 3 months are refundable. We can take the gloves off. We can talk like men should have been talking for a long time. But of course, civilized society has put handcuffs on that. And we have to watch what we say in public and how we say it. Would love to have you there. There are already a lot of guys there. And trust me, down in the comment section, they'll tell you that the brand new video that we put up today earlier is going to make you think. It's going to make you really wonder, do you live in a village or do you live in a castle? When the lights go out, the rules change. Now, a lot of preppers have said this and they've made videos talking about what you should and shouldn't do, but basically it all surrounds the idea that somehow overnight you're going to be able to live life as a pirate when you've never lived life as a pirate before. You see, these guys are coming. They are coming, and nobody is seeing it. They have a plan. They have a plan, and they're going to look like this. You see, most men have thought that, well, when the power goes out and when everything goes to hell, we're just going to go tactical camping. We're just going to go tactical camp and we're going to practice with our ballistic weapons, and that will be all the threat we face. But yesterday, Patriot Nurse said something that alluded to this. In her premiere, What Does It Look Like When the United States Falls?, she boils it down to the most bare bones of what holds our society, our civilized society, together. It's the nuclear family. And the nuclear family begins with a man and a woman figuring it out, putting aside their differences, and accentuating the things they have in common and celebrating those differences that they can. But things have changed drastically in the last 25 years in North America. A lot of relationships have cooled, and they've become more cohabitation. How many of you know somebody who met someone and they were in love, and maybe they had kids and the kids got older, and as the kids got older, they stayed together more for convenience? There wasn't really that thing anymore. And they just decided it'd be easier to cohabitate. They didn't dislike each other, but they knew how much harder it would be to try to separate everything. Maybe one person was unfaithful. Maybe the other person said some things or did some things that were just unforgivable. Who knows? Everybody has this story. And it's very common. They're even reporting this now. The levels of cohabitation without marriage in this country are skyrocketing. Relationships of convenience. You see, that's the key. These guys are coming for it. These guys have a plan. Because the world owes them something. Now, I'm not going to give away too much here. But when this crack occurs, they're going to be there to exploit it. And with the grid being down and civil courts being closed and things being in an emergency state, it's going to be a sea change in the world. More than 1 million prisoners have been released during COVID-19, but it's not enough. This is 9 November 2021. More than 1 million prisoners released. 13 January 2022, thousands of federal inmates to be released under 2018's First Step Act. You see, here's the real key. We go into this in much more detail over at Patreon, but here's the real key. See, they're trying to reduce something called recidivism. So when this guy moves in and moves you out and takes your stuff, you're not going to have a civil court to turn to. And the police aren't coming because it's not an emergency. And of course, society is going to be all for it. Why? Because these, of course, are the victims. Remember the victims? They're just a bunch of innocent guys. You've been out doing tactical camping and all these things that the left hates. These guys have been watching. See, they're going to try to keep recidivism down, and they're going to try to make all these people the great victims of the world, the great victims of the evil empire, because, as we know, every single prisoner doesn't belong to be there. It doesn't go to the top level in their head that maybe they've earned their time there. They're just going to go lash out. Whoever saw the movie The Getaway? That's a hint. Now, I have made the allegation that the left lives, breathes, and dies Star Trek. They would literally love to install the world, the fictitious make-believe world that existed in the Star Trek universe. Now, some have thought that I'm overstating the case about the left and their attachment to this. I was rewatching, I was bored one night, some old Star Trek Deep Space Nine videos. And I came across a couple of episodes. The name of the episodes are called Past Tense. It was a 2-part series. The idea was that a couple of men from the future, they're in the 2400s or 2500s or whatever, get sent back to, are you ready for this? They get sent back to 2024. And there's basically, these two are living in Chaz. Now they missed by about 4 years, or maybe they didn't. Maybe we'll see this again. But basically, it's a city where there's tents everywhere, and people are living off scrapes of government services. It's literally what we saw in 2020 and what we've seen in the last couple of years. Now, what makes this crazy, what makes this nuts, is that this episode aired originally in 1994. It aired originally in 1994. 28 years ago. They got it so spooky close. It's crazy. They even got Elon Musk right. You got to remember, in 1994, the internet was a pipe dream. The internet was just to download a picture like this would have taken 10 minutes, 15, even with a great computer. To download an image like this off the internet in 94, 10 minutes. Seriously. There was no copy and pasting images like this. But they got it. They got our decade right now incredibly correct. Because this particular individual that got tossed back in time was found by someone who was rich. And the separation is striking. And the way this guy talks about network, it's literally an analog of Elon Musk. While these guys are living in what basically is San Francisco, Portland, and they even say every major city has a section like this. They literally say it, every major city has a section that looks like this. And this is all the results of West Coast liberalism. They literally created their own future. That's how much they believe in this stuff. You can find this, go to the Star Trek Deep Space Nine wiki, and it is let's go down here. Season 3, it's episode I think 3 or 4. It's at the very beginning of season 3. But it's 94, 95. It's absolutely nuts. Oh, by the way, it's where the Maquis really get their teeth. The Maquis that they have adapted for the Star Trek series that were, of course, adapted from the World War II Maquis that we also saw in Colony, which is where these images are from. It's very strange how this all ties together. Very, very strange, but mark my words, there is a way to combat this. I'm sure a lot of people are saying, all this doom and gloom, Maquis. All this doom and gloom. Do you have a fix? Yes. There absolutely is a fix for this. There's a way to stop this, at least in your life. But the first part is assessing. Do I live in a castle or do I live in a village? The two strategies will be entirely different. But mark my word, that invasion force is coming. And when that invasion force gets here, you better be prepared. I'll leave it there. Would love to have you. $1 per month. That's it. It's the only level. Even less. It's like 90 cents per month. 3 cents per day. If you sign up for an entire year. Would help me out a ton. And believe me, the information is critical. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.